So you have to have a license to grow, and then you also have, it has to be tested through DATCP, and then they give you a certificate of sale on it. So keep in mind that those things are important and you have to do those. So I want you to keep that in mind. And I don't, maybe some people will disagree, but even if this product becomes taken off the class 1 drug, becomes a farm commodity, I don't see those rules and regs changing, because there's no way to tell what you're growing if it's not tested. So I don't see that changing, even if it becomes a farm product. I think you're still gonna have to register and be licensed to grow and all of that, so they can track, and so your county officials, your county sheriff, whoever knows what you're doing and what you're growing. So, okay?
Okay, so this is floating around here. These are frequently asked questions. We're up to 9 pages on frequently asked questions. This is also available on our website. These were updated in October. So if it says on here when the deadline is for registering for 2019, it's probably incorrect because it's been extended now to March 1st. So the deadline was December 31st and now it's March 1st. So I want to make you aware of that first. And what Harry said, so when the 2018 Farm Bill passes, and if it has the definition of hemp that we see in there now as a draft definition, that will take it out of the Schedule 1 out of DEA, so it's not a Schedule 1 substance anymore. But it's true that will not change the regulations. You still have to verify that what you have is below 0.3%, and if anything else becomes legal in Wisconsin, if medical marijuana becomes legal, if recreational marijuana becomes legal, it will actually make things more complicated for us, not less complicated. And so the kind of testing that we're doing, the regulations that we have will probably remain in place. I would say we have a few changes for 2019. We have, there was one variety that failed consistently pretty much across the board, and that was C4, so we're not allowing any growers to grow C4, so just if that's on your maybe list, take it off. It just failed. We are trying to put seed sources up on our website, and so, look at our website. We have a lot of information there. We have the growing recommendations out of Canada, and we are putting seed sources as seed labelers are licensed for selling seed in Wisconsin. We're putting their business names on our website, and we also have some information on varieties that are acceptable and encourage people to make sure that you get test results if there's a variety you're not sure whether or not that would be acceptable for growing in Wisconsin. We would like all samples to pass. That would be just fantastic, and we would like that. So to any level that you can do that, that's great. So when the 2018 Farm Bill passes, what states have to do then is we have to submit a plan to USDA that says this is how we'll manage this program, and then they have to approve how we want to manage the program. So, so we are expecting that to come down the line. Let's see. I would mention for 2018. We tried to work with everyone. We tried to be as open as we could on things. Where samples do not pass, we'll have to be following up on destruction plans for those. I should also mention that law enforcement was pretty much on the sideline for 2018. They kind of had a hands-off approach there. They have a bigger interest. They're more interested. And by law enforcement, I mean local, county, state, and federal. We are speaking to their associations, to their drug and gang task force groups. This is challenging for them. And the way they have explained it to me is that, you know, if we got a complaint, there was a marijuana grow operation, we had a procedure, we knew what to do, we went in there, and now you're in our way. And so, and maybe us, our program is making things more complicated for them, and so they don't always know what they're getting a complaint about as a marijuana grow operation is that, or if it's part of our program. So how can you maybe help with this is, well, first of all, if you're going to be growing, make sure you have your license and registration. If you have an opportunity to reach out in your community to community leaders or to law enforcement in advance, you know, you might want to do that. I think that what people report on is what they might see or what they might smell, and then they might file a complaint. So we're getting a lot of calls from law enforcement asking us, does this particular property have a license and a registration for growing hemp? And so then we'll provide that information to them. So I just want you to be aware of that. Our role is really to try and help people be in this program and to grow hemp and to grow it legally, whether it's for grain or CBD or fiber. And so that is our role. It is a regulatory program, so we also have some regulatory responsibilities, and we want to have a legitimate program and a program that's respected by other states and by law enforcement. And so we're working on that and really trying to do a good job of communicating with them.
So, another question on degradation of, the chemicals in the plant. Is DACAP not accepting of just allowing our pot plants to degrade into CBN over time, so that way we can still make a profit with whatever's left when it does drop below the acceptable level?
Okay, so the question, as I understand it, is DACAP not just allowing plants that don't pass to just degrade into the CBN? If you have a crop that fails the test, we're going to be saying, what is your plan for destruction of this crop? And destruction can mean different things, and you're allowed to propose whatever you want, but then we would have to approve that. And we also have to do some follow-up on documenting that, whatever that destruction plan is actually occurs. So we may actually want to come out and do a site visit. So these are things, because we have to verify that that's actually destroyed, whatever that means. So, and we're not saying you're going to destroy it this way. We're going to ask you, well, how do you propose to destroy that? And then we're going to want to just verify that whatever that is, if we've approved that happens. So we're trying to leave the door open somewhat, but then we also have to verify what actually happens to those plants.
Is it possible to test yourself for THC?
So the question is it possible to test yourself for THC? So I'm going to answer that a couple ways. So one of the things that growers do, and maybe Steve has done this, is that if you're trying to get your highest CBD level and keep your THC level down, they're taking it to a lab that has a reasonable cost where they can test to see what that is. And when they start to get to a certain point where they know they're going to have to harvest it, they call us and say, you can come out and take your official sample. We take the regulatory samples, so no one else takes those. We take those and we take those to our regulatory lab. So those are official regulatory samples, but that sampling and testing costs $250 per sample. So if you're testing as you go throughout the growing season, there are labs who will probably do that test at a lower cost.
Is that a chemical profile that changes depending on when you take the test? And
The more mature the plant gets, the higher the levels go.
how many growers were hot last year or this year?
I would say how many samples were hot, maybe,
Sure.
because some growers grew multiple varieties, and so they had multiple samples taken. We had a little over few more than 20. So there were 20-some samples that failed, and we took about 300 samples. So there were 20-some that failed, and most of those were C4.
I've got a couple questions about varietal information, which seems to be a big struggle to figure out what will work here. You mentioned the recommendations on the website. Are those still limited to grain and fiber crops
So,
for the certified seed sources?
yes, so the question is, what we have on our website is our varietal information limited to grain and fiber. And speaking of certified seed, and as far as I know, and anyone in this room who might know something can correct me, but I do not believe there is a certified variety for CBD available.
Not in this country. So follow-up question then, are there plans to publicize what high CBD varieties did work well for growers?
So, yeah, the question is, will we publish what, or publicize what CBD varieties did work? And so, we're waiting for the final production reports to come in from the growers, and as soon as, I think the deadline for that was December 15th, maybe. And then we'll be writing a year-end report with everything we know and don't know, basically. And since this was the first year, well, there's going to be more that we don't know, but we will also be putting out, what the test results were for varieties, what sailed through and what had some problems, and then what just flat out didn't make it.
Last question on that note, are you aware of any breeding programs working on regionally adapted varieties? And because of the inherent genetic variation, within a breeding program, if one lot or plant tests hot, then do you have to destroy the whole population, or how do you parse that out?
Okay, I'm not entirely so one of the questions is about breeding programs. Am I aware of breeding programs? I am aware that there are some seed producers who are working on developing varieties. That takes a while. So I don't know, how soon some of those will be available. I still think some of the best sources are not available in Wisconsin. In terms of if one plant fails, do you throw the whole crop out? When we do our testing, we're testing the crop. We're not testing one plant. So we're testing a representative sample of the crop, and I don't know if that was your question.
Well, if there's a breeding population that's going to be a cross between two varieties or whatever, there's going to be a lot of variation in that population, but it's maybe one population or crop. So I'm just trying to understand if there's leeway for potential farmers, breeders to, it's I guess risky for them to work on breeding if they have to throw out the whole populations because one little segment of it tests hot or something.
Right, so all I can say is we'll work with breeders. We want to know what the plans are for the crop that they're growing. So if they're growing for seed, we want to know what the plan is and how they're growing that and what they're planning to do with those plants. So if you're growing plants and they're going into the market, directly into the market, and we're sampling the crop, then if it's not above 0.3, if it's not below 0.3%, it does not go into the market. If it's not going into directly into the market, then we can have another conversation about that. So, yes.
I have some questions about plants going directly into the market. I am a CBD company, and we're seeing flower being directly placed for sale, direct to customers and consumers in stores. And I don't need a license to sell my CBD products, but how do we handle the plant material itself? So say I buy from Steve, who he's a licensed processor, he can sell me the raw plant material, but I am not a licensed processor, but I wish to sell that raw plant material directly to consumers. So how do I handle that?
Okay, so here's an area where there's not a lot of regulation right now, and ultimately for products, we want to see some labeling laws and some things that provide some safety to consumers, because if I say I'm gonna sell you a bottle of Acme CBD oil, and it's amazing, take my word for it, but there's no real labeling law to make, or testing to make sure that what's in that bottle is there, that's a problem. If Steve sells you raw plant material and you're going to sell that, you're gonna need probably a retailer's license. But you also want to help yourself. You want some source information from Steve. What is his name? What is his grower license? If he has a processor license, what is that? Because you want to kind of trace back to him. And so you want to have that information and just collect that information for your files, for if law enforcement comes to your door and says, what is this and where did you get it? And you want to be able to say, here's my documentation, here's my paperwork that shows where this came from. And there's still a lot of work to do on laws related to this very kind of thing. So, back in the back.
Wouldn't that, if she were like packaging it to sell, wouldn't she have to follow the GMPs, the federal guidelines? I mean, there are guidelines for that, for herbal products.
For just packaging in general? Yeah, that, just for packaging in general?
And if you're selling it, you would just follow the GMPs.
Yeah, so I have a retail and I sell flour in my retail and
And
we
you
just
follow the
follow
GMP.
the laws of retail license. We also made a binder with all the farmers' COAs, all of their, stuff to let us know where
Right,
it's
and
at.
that's the GMP,
So
so
we
you
have-
can go onto the federal laws that tell you how to document, and it's called the GMPs.
Yeah, I was asking more Melody directly, because this is one of the times we actually get to directly speak to her. Because what I would like to actually know is, as a person who does not hold a processor's license, selling raw plant material is to me legally questionable. And that's where I wanted to know, do I have to have a processor's license because he gives me plant matter, then I repackage that plant matter, or that's my question, is where are we going kind of in that area?
Right, so, if he gives it to you and it's already packaged, all you need is your retailer's license to sell it. If you package it, you may need a processor's license, but I would need to go back and check on that.
So I
But-
did email you guys and
Oh.
ask those questions.
What did we say?
I didn't, and
Okay.
I printed that out and
Okay.
put it in my little booklet, so
Yeah.
I can have some backup for that. And I felt the same way that young woman feels, that I was like, okay, I don't need to have a processing license to physically, but I guess I look at it more as herbs, wild American herbs. So if you go into, we have a local herb shop, I can buy mint off the shelf, packaged in her packaging. We make little hemp tea bags, it's the same
The only,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
So the only difference between mint and cannabis is that law enforcement probably will not walk in and say, where did you get this mint?
In our town, we have been situations, they have been totally fine.
Is there anything you recommend, Melody, that we place on the labels when we're selling the flour? Is there any way to, I guess, provide to law enforcement, like literature or languages, like this is a hemp-based product, not cannabis? It contains less than 0.3% THC. I think about the customers. I don't sell flour right now because I don't understand the legality of it. But my thoughts go to a customer who drives around with this hemp matter that they just bought from my store, and then they get pulled over and that police officer insists upon testing that material. And, you know, I want to know what we should put on the label so that we can explain to officers what's in the package.
So if it is from a Wisconsin hemp grower, you could put on the label, this is, you know, hemp. You can put the definition of what hemp is, and you can, you know, say that this is a Wisconsin product. Eventually, we'll have labeling laws for this that will help with that. Some municipalities are passing ordinances to not allow businesses to sell these things in their municipalities. Some are, maybe have had ordinances that say that, and now they're going the other direction, and they want these businesses, so they're going both ways. You just really want to have as much documentation as you can that you can show to law enforcement when they come in, because they may come in and ask questions, and you want to trace that back, and growers can give you a copy of their Fit for Commerce certificate that shows that would, along with their license number too, and then we get calls from law enforcement and we verify those very things. So there's a lot of questionable things going on right now, and regardless of, you know, the Attorney General gave his guidance. Initially, he went one way, and then he turned around and he went the other way and
We
said,
appreciate your work on that, Ms. Melanie.
he went the other way and said CBD was legal in Wisconsin. Local laws and local law enforcement can kind of go their own way on some of these things, and so you just need to be aware of that too. And
My municipality that my store belongs in, I had to get permission before I was able to open the store I got it from the local district attorney, the county district attorney of Milwaukee, who actually didn't know what CBD was, by the way, everyone. I said, can I have a CBD company? The assistant district attorney said, what's that? But they told me that they prefer that I carry non-full spectrum products, so that I carry only isolate-based, so that when they walk into my store and they pull out a field test kit, that what's in my store will never test positive for THC. Now, that's only something they asked me to do. I do not have to follow that and could obviously legally challenge that.
Can I interrupt? This is getting off to what our subject, I realize that labeling is an important thing for you and maybe a couple of other people in the room, but we're getting off of where we want to be from the grower and the harvesting and the handling from the farmer standpoint. Maybe that's more of a question to ask the one-on-one afterwards, because there's not, you know, we got a number on it. Sorry, but if we can go from that standpoint. Who's got it?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Did you have any of your growers go inside your controlled environment?
we have people growing in greenhouses.
But I mean, like, really in controlled environment, where you have like a building with the grow lights and.
Right, yes, we have had some of that.
You had, what was their success rate?
I can't tell you what that was because, well, we took 300 samples and I didn't take them all myself, and I don't know how many of the greenhouse varieties passed versus didn't pass yet, so I can't answer that question right now. There's a gentleman back there who's had his hand up for a while.
I was just asking if, when you submit your test, can you harvest at that point, or do you have to wait for the test to come back?
You want to wait, well,
How long does that test take?
It can take a couple weeks to get the results back. So you want to have the test done in a timely fashion, but not too long before you harvest.
And then how long do you have from the time that you call, I guess?
So from the
What's
time,
your turnaround time from the time that you call to the time you guys get out there? How long is that normally?
okay, so how long does it take us to get out there after you call? We're actually going to do things a little bit differently in 2019 because we were asking people to give us 30 days notice so that we would have time to schedule and get out. And our goal was to take your samples within 2 weeks before you harvested. This year, we're gonna set up some routes, and we're gonna be notifying growers, we're gonna be in your area on these dates. And we would hope that you would sign up for those dates, and we're gonna keep making routes throughout the state. And the reason for doing that was, we were trying to get to all the growers. We were taking samples up in Bayfield County, and we would have someone call from Bayfield County and say, we need to take a sample. We'd send somebody up there, and then within a couple days, we'd have someone else call from Bayfield County. And so we need to be more thoughtful about that, but we are going to require growers to harvest within 10 days after we test. That's gonna be a requirement. We can talk about that if there's problems with weather or whatever, but we have to kind of tighten up some things because the THC content does continue to go up, so.
That's a little disadvantage to some people though, depending on when you come through, it's a curve of THC and CBD building as the season progresses. So if you nail us, a month and a half before it should really be harvested, we end up with nothing, CBD wise.
But we aren't testing a month and a half before you harvest.
Yeah, but you guys, it takes a while to move around is what I'm saying, and depending on when you say you're coming through, that could be a disadvantage to certain areas.
It's not like we're gonna be there, we're gonna come through a month and then we're gonna come through a month later. We're gonna be cycling through the state, but we're gonna be organizing it so that you don't call and say, I need my sample taken next week and I'm in Bayfield County. So we have to be more efficient in how we do it.
Okay, let's ask over here.
My question is for the large high CBD, shrub style plant. Physically, when you look at it, when can you tell, or is there a way? I know there's typical 100-day grow. The days start to shorten about the beginning of October. Those are various indicators for when harvest. Is there a way to look at the plant and say, this is ready to go? Is there certain characteristics of the plant?
They say there is.
From your own experience.
Not from my experience, no. I've looked at flowering days, and again, this thing's been underground for a long time. Now it's been engineered to be outside for the last 4 or 5 years, and there's predictable windows. Right. The stresses and temperatures and rain, all the stuff varies. When the pistils start turning red, or the amber, when the trichomes start getting nasty, when it starts to flower, you get a pretty good geneticist that gave you what you got. You can have a pretty decent window, get it harvested before that window's complete. And otherwise, you got to be a scientist. Really, if you want to harvest that day, you've got to be spot on scientific about it.
All right, I got a question here, and then we'll go back.
I know it's not on your agenda, but could you talk a little bit about sales, buyers, marketing experiences?
The question about sales and buyers and stuff, if my thing, would you want to wait until the session after this to talk about that? It hasn't been, Angie's holding on to her stuff, we're holding on to some of our stuff, and around the country, it's arbitrary pricing. You're getting $2.50 a point in South Carolina, maybe up to $3.50 somewhere out in Colorado, and you can't make any money farming doing that.
Yeah, but you can enter into share agreements, right?
Well, there's all kinds of agreements with this, and it's a wide open deal. Everybody wants to write a check to help you do something, and when they're doing theirs at the end, people want to pay us up front, we want to hang on to it to ourselves. There's a dozen different kinds of models out there. And I'm open to the session at the end, discussing what you've discovered, what you want to offer, what you've done, and what you can do. It's really that wide open right now. It's not grow it, harvest it, sell it, go do it, get next year. Not there yet, in my opinion.
Okay.
Not in our scale, not our scale.
Gentlemen.
When you're taking the material for your regulatory sample, how much material is collected?
We're taking a representative sample of the crops, we're taking the top 2 inches of plants, and if your plants all look pretty uniform, then we'll just be going throughout the field, taking samples from different parts of the field. If you have a lot of variability in plants and they really don't even look like the same variety, and if you were growing it this year or you've seen some of the fields, some of the fields I'm talking about, we would want to get those different looking plants, and we're just trying to take the crop as a whole. And so,
Is it a pound, is it 5 pounds? I mean, some sort of,
well, if you have a 200-acre field, it's gonna be different than if you have 25 plants. And so if it's 25 plants, we may take a sample from every plant or from close to every plant. If it's a 200-acre field, we're gonna be maybe taking 30 or 40 plant tops. And we're just taking the top 2 inches of the plant. And as long as I'm talking about this, we've had no, we didn't care how small or large a plot was, but when it comes right down to it, we need at least 15 plants so that we can get a sample that the lab can test, that they can dry down and test. And so we want people to grow at least 15 plants. We want it. When we come out to sample, we need at least 15 plants to take the tops from. This last year, sometimes it was really hard for us to get enough plant material. We really struggled with that. So we need at least that many to make sure we can get enough.
Question. When you were talking about harvesting, what per acre, how much square feet do you think you need to dry the
The question was about harvesting, how much space for
yeah,
drying?
for drying, so like for 1 acre, how many square feet do you think you need, or?
If I'm not mistaken, Matt, is it 2 square foot per plant, basically? Yeah, so you can roughly guesstimate you need 2 square foot per plant. You can vertical,
Yeah.
you turn it to cubic feet, but yeah, it's about 2 square foot per plant, so.
What if you did a cubic feet?
Hmm?
What if you did a cubic feet?
Just get a bigger or smaller grower, right?
I had a question back here, yeah, and then I'll come. Are there any processing plants in the state?
The question is, are there any processing plants in the state? I know there's Wisconsin Hemp Scientific. Anybody else know?
There's another one open up by Eau Claire.
One Eau Claire.
I'm sorry, my little section meeting is here. When I license, when I'm going to start processing legally, I applied for it this year. And we'll have my license all set by the end of this year when I can start, so part of the process.
Are you the only one that you know of?
There's no other one state.
What kind of processing are you doing, like isolate, distillate?
I would just be doing, hemp oil, I'm using ethanol for it, with hemp oil. So, no, not any isolate oil.
Where are you located?
Waterford, Wisconsin.
Right, I want to go here.
Okay, I have a question about the harvesting. Now, I have read that they have the machine that, if you're doing industrial hemp for the seeds, that they have a machine that comes and cuts the top and harvests the seeds. And then you can leave the stalks in the ground over winter. And then, does that do that process, they say if you want to separate the fiber from the core, there's the machine to do that? Do you want to discourage